Welcome back to the Hype Mind. I'm Bear. I'm your host, one of your hosts, here with Daniel, your other host. And man, we got a good one for you today. Hang in there. We're going to be talking about men and women and can they be friends and understanding the concerns behind being friends, especially when you're in a relationship with someone. So tune in. So we made a video in the past about guys and girls can't be friends because there's always I would say sexual drive behind that friendship that people aren't necessarily aware of consciously. And what was interesting was I told this to my girlfriend a while back, and she's challenged this multiple times. And I've sat there and I've thought about it. And coming from a place of having a greater understanding of like unconditional high regard for people and what Sven has showed us through his mentoring, I'm sitting here going, I wonder if this belief system that guys and girls can't be friends is a red pill, something I learned from the red pill community that it's time to dispose of. Because I feel like when you break this down, it's deeper than just the basis of guys and girls can't be friends because one of them wants something from the other. You know, that's a very Eros loving mentality, which once you move beyond that in your consciousness and your life, well, then that opens completely different doors. What comes to mind when I say that to you? Try to look at the camera.
Yeah. When you mention that, I mean, I always think about, I guess, how, I don't know, messages can be skewed and there could be a lot of details in the mix that you don't think about. And we were talking before about this, and I wanted to pull some of those thoughts back, but I also want to mention this, is that there is this dynamic in relationships where the man is the protector and the woman is the is not as physically strong. And so, I mean, we mentioned in different friendships, like there could be different friendships, like your woman could have, well, what I was mentioning before is men can have this intuition, this protective intuition of your male friend's not just your friend. Like
Right.
he wants to sleep with you. And so this, and we can talk about this, there's a protective part of making that decision in your relationship that my girlfriend has no friends, or not no friends, no male friends, is because it's very different in this type of relationship. For example, if a man's out and about and he's hanging out with a woman, what's the only option is that he's going to decide to sleep with the other woman. Like he's going to decide to cheat.
From a
They're not going to force him to.
from like a primitive aspect though.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, that's kind of what I'm talking from. More of
Yeah.
a primitive, or I would say realistic. I mean, and then let's say your woman's out with male friends. And yeah, that same option can happen where she can decide to cheat and sleep with your male friends. But she actually doesn't have to decide too. She can be against it, but her male friends could take advantage of her. They're stronger than her. And so like in that case, I would say
Yeah, but that's a different kind of strength. I mean,
a
unless it's
boyfriend,
rape, but
as a husband, as a partner, you can take that role. And I think men have that. Women have their intuition where they can tell things and sense things. So do men, but it's a little bit different. I think men, I've seen this, men have that protective intuition where they see and know, and they see if something, the situation could go wrong, be dangerous.
well, I like that you bring up men, the the aspect of men in this situation. And it's funny because I was actually reflecting on it from a personal standpoint, not from a what will she do, why is she bringing this up, you know, her relationship with guys. I was actually bringing it up and thinking about it from a much more personal my relationship with women situation, because I love sex. I mean, I want to say every person loves sex, but that just sounds like a statement that is approval seeking. I need to say everybody loves sex to feel comfortable saying I love sex. So honestly, I don't give a crap if everybody hates sex. I like sex. I think sex is awesome. But it doesn't end there. The sentence doesn't end there, right? Like for me, I do love sex. I do enjoy having sex, but I also have values. And my values are going to guide a lot of this stuff. And one of the things it's going to guide is that primitive caveman biological ape feature of myself that says, hot girl, have sex, right? Because that's not how that works. How would I get through life if I spent my entire life functioning from a biological level of A plus B equals C? I have to do C because A plus B equals C, right? It's like, human beings, they don't work like that. Yeah, there's a that's the beautiful thing about being human, is there's this consciousness. There's this consciousness and conscience, that you have a conscience, you have free will, you have choice. And so you can say, wow, I am moved by this person, right? In this case, I'm talking about women, right? Oh, I am moved by a beautiful woman. But that doesn't mean I'm going to have sex with her. That doesn't mean I value having sex with her. And so I almost think that when we first talked about this, when I first learned this, this was from a very one-sided point of view, probably red pill, if I'm being honest, and it's from a human urge thing. Like, yes, as a dude, and I think most dudes experience this. As a guy, you see an attractive woman, and you could have sex with an attractive woman, right? And there's a couple interesting things. One is something Alison Armstrong points out in all her research, is that a man who has sex with a woman doesn't love her, right? It's like I said, it's biological. He's not there to protect her or take care of her. So one, it is meaningless, which I think is one reason why women get very upset when sex gets involved, is because they want to make sure it's not meaningless. But that's a little off point. My real thought is that as a dude, and maybe even as a girl, didn't spend much time thinking about that. So I'm glad you brought that up. As a dude, yes, I do see attractive people and I do experience attraction, right? But it's sexual attraction, which doesn't mean much. It's like, it doesn't mean much. I know it doesn't mean much. Like, I know what love is. I know what intimacy is. And I also know that there's a huge space between sex and intimacy and love, and so when I see that, I think, well, yeah, why can't you be friends with a hot woman or an ugly woman as a dude? Because it is true on some level, the biological level, you might be, I wouldn't say seeking, but there might be a part of you that wants something, right? There might be a needy part of you that wants something, which would be eros, love. But on a conscience, on a human, divine, spiritual level, you're there to connect in a respectful, loving, unconditional way, which would be agape love, right? Where you just value this person because they're human. It doesn't matter if it's a dude or a girl. You just
not always. I mean, for friendships, no, not necessarily. I think there's agape for sure, but I mean, there's definitely a different type of relationship. Part of it's conditional, part of it's unconditional. That's why you have.
If it's conditional, though, if it's conditional, it's a different condition than sex, though.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So like,
And
yeah,
that's something to point out too. It doesn't have to do with sex.
right. Well, and that was what I learned, and it made sense because I'm a very logical person. And and I understood the part of myself that worked that way, right? But of course, there's other parts of myself. There's more to me than just my sexual side. That am I a sexual person? Yes. Um, or do I have a sexual side? Yes. Right. Do I also have a side that's wise? Yes. Do I also have a side that's logical? Yes. You know, as a human being, you're very complex. And so from just that one aspect, it made sense. Oh yeah, I could totally understand that, right? And so I suppose what I'm saying is I would be admitting to being wrong in this case. The video we made in the past, while it holds a great deal of truth on some level, here we are down the line, and I can see that that doesn't possibly need to apply on a much larger level. And I'm happy to say I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. It could be.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting because she kept this up. She kept going, well, you believe men and women can't be friends. And I said, well, yeah, I do at the moment. That is one of my beliefs at the moment. That doesn't mean it's a good belief. I think it's a very safe thing to be aware of your attraction, right? Because you want to carry yourself in alignment with what's important to you. And hopefully that's not sleeping around, especially as a woman, but not as a man or a woman. I'd say there's
I mean, that's something to point out about beliefs. It's like if they're so they're 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 not even solid, but they're like stuck,
right.
It's difficult to grow, to build upon them, unless you're able to pull them apart and put them back together in a better, stronger, more foundational way. I think that's a gift to have.
And I was
able to like assess your beliefs and just dive in and pull them apart, and being like having the willingness to let go, because if you don't, in that case, you don't have the choice to, then you're like stuck to that, and your decision to stand by that belief is actually not very strong, because you don't genuinely choose to. You're just uncomfortable not choosing to change it. So
that's a possibility. I mean, I know that in this situation, I was happy to stand by it because I was like, look, this is what I believe. And I'm not saying I'm right. I could be wrong, but I'm saying because I chose this, I trust myself. I trust myself to have come to this conclusion until I get new information that brings about a new conclusion. And that goes for any belief I have. If I'm going to speak it, I'm going to stand behind it, even if it's wrong. Because once I learn it's wrong, I'm going to say, hey, look, I was wrong. I'm going to change it to a better belief. Like that's what growth is on some frontier. And the other interesting thing is, what is a belief? I was doing some educating today for me, and a belief is just a collection of thoughts, right? And so at that moment, you did your best to judge those thoughts as accurate, and they might not have been. Half of them might have been accurate, half of them might not have been. They might all have been accurate. They might all have been wrong. 75% of them might have been accurate, right? And guess what? At the end of the day, you collected those thoughts, you processed them, and you said, all right, here's my belief based on those thoughts. And one day down the road, maybe right now, you sit there and you say, oh, I have different thoughts about this now that I didn't have then, that I wouldn't have known to have then. And so you change that belief. But that's all a belief is a collection of thoughts.
yeah. Anyway, so what is your new belief? Like, is it a new belief, or it's just like a out with the old belief?
Well, I spent some time thinking about this, and I thought, when I was studying, I almost want to say the enemy, like how they say know your enemy, because I don't
Yeah.
believe in a lot of what Red Pill teaches, but they have a lot of knowledge. And so when I spent my time studying that was my old belief, but it was limited. There was some things I liked about it, but it was still limited. And standing here now, I sit here and I go, well, I can see that that's a transaction. That's a conditional love, right? And it's also just a biological instinct, and that there's more to life than a biological instinct. I am not an ape, I look like one sometimes, but I am a human being. I'm divine. I have a lot more attributes than just my primitiveness. That is an aspect. Everybody has this animal side to them. So the new belief would be having friends is just connecting with people. Maybe it's for a conditional reason, but I don't think it's necessarily for a sexual one. Yeah, it could be because you're sexually attracted, but like I I'm not friends with anybody that I'm sexually attracted to because of that. You know, I'm friends with them because I admire something else about them. Maybe they're artistic, maybe they're wise, maybe they have great advice, I think, from my conclusions so far. Maybe they're fun to be around. And so yeah, there could be an aspect of
Yeah.
a person that experiences attraction, especially if it's something you guys both have in common. But
Yeah, that's not something I think we completely agree on. Um,
well,
is
where
that it's the
yeah,
transactional part because I mean I think definitely part of the relationship is transactional. I think it has to be. Um, and and we make that decision from the beginning. And I think you agree with some of that. We've chatted before about this.
well,
I
I
mean,
don't
just
I don't even see where we disagreed with that statement. Can you say that again?
that romantic relationships are transactional. And
I didn't say romantic. I just said relationships in general. I don't think they have to be. I think sometimes they are. I think, let me be much clearer because I wasn't very clear. I think some relationships are transactional, but it's not necessarily from a sexual aspect. It could be. And that's where my old belief was limited. Um,
okay.
I think a lot of beliefs aren't transactional at all. They're just us expressing our best, maybe a side we really appreciate about ourselves that someone else also appreciates. So it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be transactional, and it doesn't have to be romantic for it to be transactional. But
Right, that could be a
but
different part of the relationship that's transactional. I mean,
right,
I'd say
yeah,
friendships are transactional as well. Um,
to a degree.
and and I guess we can discuss that further, so you can know what I'm understanding or where I'm getting at here. Is there's two parts of the relationship. One's a unconditional love and one's conditional, and
Right.
so yeah, you choose to give them that conditional love on the conditions of um, how they are towards you, and there's unconditional love there, which is um, I guess can typically be seen as like like just love that you can that you can and are inspired to give everybody. So like I like to explain like real basic respect, not going out of your way to harm people. And I think that's like absolutely powerful. And people even sense that like even if I turn my back against you, I mean we're going to hold the topic here, but that I'll still treat you like a human being. But yeah.
That
And then
brings up a thought. Finish. Yeah, go ahead. Finish.
yeah, I was just gonna go back quick to I wanted to see your understanding about the protection portion of the relationship, because I think that's where that matters to me. What I value is that I have I have the
Great. Yeah.
power to protect, right? And and that I can that my partner will take my decision to
Protection, right?
protect seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
And
talk
I
about
think
that.
that's super important.
Let me share this other thought first. One of the things you said triggered this thought, and I feel like the reality is you're gonna experience thoughts and feelings all the time of all sorts of varieties, right? That's just not something you can necessarily help. It's only something you can watch and filter. And so even if you're really good friends with someone, you're gonna have crazy thoughts. Like you might sit there and you might think, um, man, what if this person died tomorrow, right? Like ridiculous thought. You might sit there and you might think something else that's absurd that people want to think is unhuman to think of, but it isn't. Um, I think all sorts of wild thoughts go through people's head, and sometimes you have thoughts that are not for the better of the other person, right? But here's the thing: is it's a thought. It's not. It's there's no meaning behind it until you allow that
Are,
thought to build.
are you specifically referring to sex here? When you
No,
talk about
no.
thoughts too, because
Well, I say this in the context of sex. You can look at someone and be like, wow, I've never noticed they're this attractive. Wow, oh my God, I've never realized I was attracted to them. What do I do? I feel like that's a common thing. But I feel like people have all sorts of crazy thoughts. Wow, what if my friend died? Did they put me in their will? Like people have all sorts of thoughts and they feel guilty for those thoughts. And it's like, it's just a thought. It's not, yeah, it could be considered a shitty thought, but that's a judgment. So, but all I'm saying is just because you experience the thought doesn't mean it ends there. You need to filter your thoughts. And that's where it really is important. If you're filtering those thoughts and saying that's not appropriate, move on. Let's look for more better thoughts, right? Because
thoughts based on surviving.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a primitive thought where as a dude, you're like, wow, she has nice tits. Doesn't mean you're going to do anything with that thought, right? It's a judgment based on your preferences. You like tits that look like that. You might appreciate the ones that she has, right? And that she could be anybody. And you might never have had that thought in your life with that person, even if you've known them a while or been friends with a while. So I'm just saying that you're going to experience all sorts of thoughts. You're going to experience all sorts of things, and it doesn't make it a reality. It doesn't make it significant or important or meaningful until you put meaning on it. But I like that question about protection because as a dude, when you flip it around, like as a guy, personally, I value and think I don't need my woman to protect me from other chicks. I know my values and I know how to say, you're attractive, you're hitting on me. I'm sorry, I'm not interested. I have a girlfriend, right? And to some degree, I have faith in whatever girl I'm dating to be able to say the same thing to a dude. But there's a difference is, yes, okay, women do rape men. That is possible. And that does happen a lot. And that doesn't get spoken for. But me personally, I'm not worried about that, right? I have never been with a woman that was physically stronger than me, even if it was someone I wasn't with and they were just attracted, maybe I'm out, I don't know, I'm out on a walk and some huge hulking strong woman approaches me and says,
I'd like to, I think that's, I guess, kind of humorous.
So I don't need my woman to protect me from that. I know my values and I know how to say, hey, I'm not interested, right? But as a girl, I know my girlfriend knows how to say that, but she doesn't necessarily have the means to stop a dude, right? Especially if she's hanging out with someone who's a friend. That's even harder, right? To be hanging out one-on-one with a friend and a friend makes a move because you don't see that stuff coming a lot of times. Those are the scenarios you really don't see coming is when dudes who are just your friend suddenly decide they have feelings and want to make a move and they're bigger and stronger than you and you care about them, so you don't want to hurt their feelings, and they make a move on you and you don't know how to say no. I think of this book I read where this guy's wife, he went through all this crazy, horrible stuff, and this guy's wife, one day he's walking up the stairs and his wife had gone over to the neighbor's house because the neighbor was in a stressful situation and she'd like made food, and he raped her, right? But because this guy saw through the window from his house to theirs them having sex, he was like, oh my God, she's cheating on me, right? And he goes and he takes his own life. But that's, you know, it's your woman. Most women don't have that kind of strength to stop a dude who's going to make a move, especially if it's someone they trust. Oh, he's my friend. We've been friends forever. I trust him. You just don't know. We have 7 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I kind of see that, I guess.
Oh, 9
it's
minutes.
like it's just having the confidence to just like to have a firm no for a woman, and to just yeah, it's like what were you doing while you're getting raped? Like, were you fighting back?
Well, and even then, do you want to fight back? Does fighting back, like, you don't know
Absolutely.
someone's mind. Well, hold on.
Absolutely. If you
As a woman,
believe you're
yeah, I mean, I would argue. I hear where you're coming from. I would argue as a dude, you should fight back, right? But as a woman, if you fight back, you could get beat while you get raped. You know, like, I think as a dude, it's really hard to put yourself in a woman's shoes and be like, how scary is this? Because as a dude, you just don't worry about that. So that's why, as a guy,
well, a dude, you worry about that for your woman. That's why.
Well,
that's
no,
why men
yes,
can get.
you do.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why
hold on,
men
let me
seem
finish my
insecure
thought.
when they're just when they have that instinct to protect.
Well, that's exactly why that's so important, right? Because as a dude, you already see that around the corner, right? You understand the dark nature of men. You understand that they're physically more powerful and that they have a nutsack full of testosterone, right? And you don't trust all other men. And so as a dude, your woman's like, no, we're just friends. And you're like, that's what you think until something happens that you are going to be defenseless against. And in that moment of defenseless, you might not even want to hit back because it might result in not just rape, but physical abuse, which rape is physical abuse, yes. But I mean, like,
right. I know. Like you're talking about trauma injuries. That's what you're talking about.
Right. To other areas other than wherever the sex is happening.
What
was my other thought?
That's going to be an obvious injury.
Right. And so women, you know, I understand why women don't necessarily see it that way, but like my girlfriend is like, okay, you know, I'm friends with this girl and this guy, right? Because this girl and this guy are in a relationship, right? But I'm like, okay, but I don't think you'd hang out with him if you didn't hang out with her. I don't care if you want to hang out with both of them, right? And I've also met this dude, right? I would expect to be able to meet any of your dude friends.
Because that's a good point.
I get to be the final decision on that because it's our relationship, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you're not going to let me hang out with a girl who doesn't wear any clothes all day because, yeah, that's a little weird. That leaves a lot of room for mistakes to happen. Bless you.
And like I mentioned before, too,
I wouldn't put myself in that situation. I'm not going to hang out with girls who are butt naked all day because, yes, I am attracted to the female body. Like, that's why I'm attracted to you, baby. Like, not you, but that's why I'm attracted to my girlfriend, because you have physical aspects too that are attractive to me as a guy who's straight. So using my best decision and my respect for us in our relationship, I'm not going to hang out with naked women.
Yeah, but you understand that there could be like there's a different situation,
right? Protection situation
for men. Yeah, for men, it's going to be like your decision to cheat. For women, it doesn't have to be your decision to cheat. For you to,
and it could. I mean, it could still be, but
I love the part about men. Is it men getting raped? Because, like for example, women watching. If your man is a man that could get raped, he's not. You know, he doesn't have. I'm not saying super strong, but he doesn't have like strength to be able to resist appropriately.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know a lot.
Then
I've heard of a lot of situations coming from the military where men were raped because it was the same thing. They were like, she was my friend. Yes, I was strong enough to turn her down, but I didn't want to hurt her. And if I turned her down, then I might have run into other repercussions of I get in trouble for physical abuse, right? And like that's I see where you're coming from with that, but I think that goes deeper too because men
I don't know if that should be
men
labeled as rape.
nailed for physical abuse when it wasn't even them. You know, like
Yeah.
an act of self defense is a crime, and men are between a
That's
hard
true.
place and a rock, and
That's an interesting topic right there. And that
that's why
does,
people won't talk about men being raped is because they don't have any room in these situations. They're always the bad guy.
yeah, that's interesting right there. That is very interesting.
So
And
like,
I still don't know if I'd label that as rape, but that's an interesting point right there. Is fear of looking. Now you look like the rapist.
right. I mean, I really think it comes down to when it comes to men hanging out with girls. I think it comes down to you as a chick need to know you're dating a dude who has good values and knows his values and keeps to them, right? Um, because if you aren't, then yeah, he might cheat on you, right? But you picked him, um, and like in my case, I know my strength and I know what's important to me, and I'm not worried about having sex. Like, yeah, I love sex. Yeah, I 100% believe women are attractive, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let myself take that anywhere, you know?
By having friends.
Huh?
By having or by
Right. Well, yeah,
by
because
having friends
attractive. If a girl
with women.
that is for the sake of no, you know, if a girl who I what if an exact replica, right? Your girlfriend's twin that she doesn't know she has, identical twin, not blood related, walks up to you in a bar and says, "I'm attracted to you," right? You're gonna experience some level of attraction because you have physical attraction for your partner on some level, right? So obviously, as a dude, you're gonna be like, "Wow, she's attractive. She looks almost like my girlfriend, or just like my girlfriend," right? But because I know she's not my girlfriend, because my values say I believe in monogamy, right? That's my own personal value. You know, people can have whatever belief they want about that. Um, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, you know, you are attractive, but I'm not interested. You're not for me. And I mean, like that's getting really into the weeds, but that's still the reality.
Hmm.
What if there's 10 people in the, 8 billion in the world that are identical looking to you? Well, good thing I don't make my choices for who I love solely based on their looks, right? And that's where your values come into play, and that's where the other things you love about them come into play.
All right. Anything else?
No,
Wrap this up.
let's say peace, and then I'll do the end.
Peace.
So, honestly, peace out. Thanks for watching.